Hello there viewers, and welcome back to another video today here on Gran Turismo Sport. So today you join us at Willow Springs for round 10 of the Midway Racing League Group 3 series. So Willow Springs is not a track you normally see come up with Group 3 cars. It's a pretty rare combination to come up. I don't remember ever seeing it come up in the daily races before now. So quite a rare combo. Turns out though it's a pretty damn good combo. I really enjoyed this race. This track turns out it's got a really good flow to it when you get into a race because it's quite fast. It's got a really good fun flow to it. So qualifying is underway here on our outlap. As you can see, we are burning a whole load of fuel. So get triggered to Greta Thunberg. So burning all kinds of fuel here, just trying to make the car lighter basically before we go flat out, and also just letting people pass, trying to get good track positioning. I don't want slipstream really at this point in time. I just kind of want a clear track. So just waiting for everyone to go past, making our car as light as possible, and waiting to set our first lap of the session. So lap 1 didn't go too well, so as you can see on the right we set a 1 minute 12.7 on the first lap as we cut turn 3 and got ourselves a penalty. Coming across the line now to finish our second lap, we are going to set a 1 minute 11.3, so that has put us temporarily into 5th place. And then as we start our third lap of qualifying here, braking at the 50 metre board for Cashew Corner for turn 1, then coming into the rabbits here, just a slight lift as you go in and just try and get the car rotated and then ease the throttle through the corner, try and get this Renault rotated. And then coming down to turn 3, you're looking for the braking boards on the right, and we're going to be hitting the brakes just after the 50 metre board and taking a late apex through turn 3. We do accidentally cut that a little bit there as we did brake slightly early. Then coming through this really awkward turn for this double apex corner, I always struggle with that. It's just a weird shaped corner. Turn 5, giving a little dab of the brakes at the end of the curb on the right, and then coming through turn 6 here over Monroe's Ridge. We are just taking this flat out, then coming down into the sweeper. So this dreaded turn 9 up ahead, very difficult corner. Yeah, everyone's been off into the sand at some point or another. Anyone who's driven around this track has gone flying off to the left there. So very tricky final corner this, giving a little dab of the brakes around about the 150 to 100 metre board, and then on the power out of the final corner as we come up to the start finish line. What is this lap time going to be? It's going to be a 1 minute 11.1. So let's put us into P4 then, 111.183. So that's 4th place at the moment. And then moving ahead, so on the following lap we were up on our personal best by half a tenth, but coming into the final corner went in a little bit too narrow and got on the throttle a little bit too early, and as you can see here we exited stage left. So I took this as an opportunity to pull into the pit lane and put on a new set of super soft tyres, and then on our first flying lap on our new set of super soft tyres, as we come to the end of sector 2, as you can see we are nearly 2 tenths up on our personal best. So this lap is going well so far, but we've still got to negotiate the very tricky final corner. Unfortunately somebody's wiped out the 150 board, which is rather frustrating. Coming into the final corner, unfortunately we're going to make the same mistake again. Unfortunately went in a bit too narrow, and yeah got a huge amount of air there coming out of the final corner, just so it took off massively then as we rejoined the circuit. But yeah, went in a bit too narrow, got on the throttle a bit too early and went flying off to the left. Unfortunately not only did that ruin that lap, but that also ruined the last lap of qualifying too. So that was our qualifying over. As you can see, we ended up qualifying in P4, only 2 tenths off pole, frustratingly. So pole, it was there, it was in our grasp. Had we nailed that final corner on that lap, we probably would have got pole position. But no, instead, pole position goes to Kelvin. Well done, Kelvin. That was a very good lap there with a 1 minute 10.9. So congratulations on the pole position. I believe that is your first in the Mojo Racing League, so congratulations for that. In second, you've got Apex Magnet John Hardy, so doing a really good job there, qualifying in P2. You've got Mike qualified in 3rd, Mike McGann. So that's very impressive lap there in the Renault RS01 like ourselves, qualifying in P3. You've got ourselves in 4th, D.I. Ivanov in 5th, and Ice Manic in 6th. So of course after qualifying we had the 1 lap fun race. So coming into the sweeper here, we're in P4, we're trying to overtake Mike McGann, but instead we've just ended up spinning it on the dust. We've just gone flying backwards into a marshal post. That marshal has invariably pooed himself. Our car is destroyed, and so yeah, that was a bit of an epic fail from us, to be honest. We were trying to cut the corner and overtake everybody, but instead that just ended up happening. And now we've got the 8-ship pled behind, having already mucked about with Adam Brown. We're coming into the final corner. Just check this out. I don't know quite what happened there. I don't know if it was a failed ramming attempt or whether he just kind of went and just went flat out at the final corner, but yeah, that happened. So he exited stage left and died as we try and head for the trees there, but the game doesn't let us. So yeah, that was a fake race. Moving ahead to the proper race, like I say, starting in P4. Now, strategy for this race is the one stop basically. So this track is quite kind on its fuel. Its tyres are the main issue, to be honest. Fuel isn't too big an issue, it's all about the tyres. And we have actually changed car for the race. So in MRL at this point in time, you were allowed to change car between qualifying and the race. So the Renault RS01, probably the fastest car over the course of one lap, but really not good on its tyres, as in it is awful on its tyres, and good luck keeping that under control as well for 41 laps. That is a very difficult car to drive. But as the race gets underway here, we are in the Mazda RX Vision, the screaming rotary engine car. I've actually had to turn down the game volume here so that you guys can hear me properly, because this thing is so loud. You can hear this car from about 2.5–3 seconds back. You can hear it over the top of your own car. It is so deafeningly loud. I had to turn down the volume of my headphones considerably for the actual race itself. So very loud. Mike in front though, he is stuck with the Renault, so he's stuck with the RS01, which is a twitchy death trap. That thing is very lively, as he loses the back end a little bit there, going into turn 3. A lap later, going through turn 3, as you can see, Mike did make a bit of a mess of it, and we made our way past it as he is all over those shots, trying to keep that beast under control. The Renault is a very lively car, got very strange handling, like awful mid-corner oversteers. So yeah, up into P3 here. We were in Mike's slipstream, so annoyingly we now don't have slipstream as Mike has moved out of the way, so we are going to have to go and catch up the guys in front without any slipstream. But that was not the end of Mike's troubles. So as we cut to the outboard shot here, watch Mike in the background in the yellow car. So coming into the final corner, he has run wide, he's clipped the gravel trap and completely exited the stage right as he goes flying out of shot and goes off to Narnia, and well, he dies basically. That was the end of Mike Began. So unfortunately we have now had one fatality in this race as Mike exits stage right going through that final corner. But unfortunately, well, we shouldn't really laugh at Mike, because as we catch up to Apex Magnet in front on lap 5, we are now entering the final corner ourselves, and well, unfortunately we kind of made the same mistake as Mike did, as we get distracted by the car in front of us, and we too also end up exiting stage left and go flying off to Narnia. So that is a big issue for us. We are now miles off the circuit and trying to find a way back onto the track, and then as we finally do rejoin the track here, just trying to keep out of the way of those who are coming around the corner, and unfortunately we do have Jake go into the back of us. We kept as far over to the left as we could, but we did end up getting collected. We're now also trying to get out of the way of Adam Tebron, but he's also gone into the back of us, so we're getting in everybody's way here, unfortunately. So yeah, apologies for that, Jake and Adam. There wasn't all too much that I could do. I was trying to stay out of the way. So now we are 11 or 12 seconds off of the lead. So having been in the lead pack, we are now all of a sudden 12 seconds behind. So that crash, that is a very big deal. That is a very big issue, and we're not exactly the fastest person on circuit anyway. So winning this race now is going to be very difficult. In front of us now is Diman Ivanov, so you've got him in P6 in the Toyota FT1, and in front of him you've got Sean Pretty in the Mazda as well. So like me, he's repping the Mazda. But well, only a few corners later, as we fast forward here, I make another mistake through the final corner as I run wide here coming out of the final turn, and yeah, lose even more time here. So it's really not going well here. We've now also got dirty tyres for the next few corners, so this is a little bit of a disaster. 4 laps later, we have now caught up to the guys in front. We actually spent the last couple of laps scrapping with them and getting held up, and have a look at Sean in front as he clips a wheel onto the dust and ends up getting spat out to the left, so he loses a lot of time and a lot of momentum there, as me and Dimmer take advantage and go flying past him on the run into the sweeper into this last corner here. So yeah, we're now up into P6 and we are looking up Dimmer's inside into this final corner into turn 9, but we don't end up making the move. We kind of back out of it as we think better of it, but we have forced Dimmer to run wide on exit. We've now got Sean, he's got a run on us, and as he's giving us a little bit of a bump jar, thank you very much for that, Sean. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but he's given us a bit of a push, and we've managed to go up the inside of Dimmer into turn 1 using that momentum which Sean gave us, so thank you very much for that, as we are now up into P5. So we've made up 2 places just like that, got past the 2 cars after 2 laps of scrapping. We've got past the 2 cars in the space of 2 corners. Only a lap later, we managed to make up another position. So have a look at the car in front, at Icemanic, and well, he just completely gives up on life, basically. He just goes straight on at turn 2 in a very, very strange looking incident. It looked a little bit like an internet disconnect, but it was not. In fact, his wheel disconnected. So just happily going along, Nicholas Warren his name is, he was just happily going along, and well, his steering failed as he leaves the room because he's, well, got no steering wheel anymore. It's failed. So easy position made up there. We've made up 3 places now in the space of all of a lap, and we've got the ancient pleb in front falling off the circuit, off in the dust. So, well, they're falling off like flies. People are just flying out of our way. They're coming past us as Dimanivros comes up behind us and kindly gives us a bump draft. He had every right to go past us then, as we were compromised when we avoided the ancient pleb. Diman had every right to come past, but instead very kindly gave us a bump draft, as I think he realised that we were quicker, so he decided to stay behind us. So we are now, as we were just in 7th place, we are now up into P3, and we have managed to recover to the position that we are in before we had our off at the start of the race. So moving ahead a couple of laps now, it's now lap 16 of the race, and as you can see, coming out of turn 5, we accidentally get on the power a little bit too early and clip the dust on exit, which is, as you can see, spat us off to the left and lost us a lot of time. And unfortunately on the next lap we make the same mistake again, so that's very annoying, making the same mistake 2 laps in a row. That is very frustrating, so we must not do that again. Fortunately we didn't lose any places though. Dimon behind us also was making a few mistakes, so we managed to keep P3. And moving ahead another lap now to the end of lap 18, as you can see, John Hardy has pulled into the pit lane with only 1% of a tank left. Now for comparison, we nearly have a quarter of a tank still left, and we haven't done a huge amount of fuel saving, to be honest. We've short shifted a little bit here and there, but not all that much, so John's really not done too good a job of saving fuel, which will help us in our pursuit of the 2 leaders up ahead. So 3 laps later, you've got Kelvin and Mike are now pulling into the pit lane themselves with 2% of a tank left, and 1 lap later it is finally time for us to pit. So we are now at the end of lap 22 and pulling into the pit lane then with 3% of a tank remaining. So yeah, we did a reasonable amount of fuel saving in the first stint, but not all too much, to be honest. It was more just upshifting early through the big long corners and keeping those revs low when you weren't on full throttle. So that's what we're doing then. So pitting now and filling the tank back up so that we can go flat out to the end of the race and not have to worry about the fuel. Where are we going to be then when we come out of the pit lane? Remember that John pitted 4 laps earlier than we did, so he's either going to have to do quite a lot of fuel saving or he's going to have to stop again, which will lose him a lot of time. So coming out of the pits now in P3, we've got D.I. Ivanov about 3 seconds behind us, and then we've still got the 2 leaders up ahead by about 12 seconds. So you've got Kelvin and John up ahead in each other's slipstream. Over the course of the next 8 laps, we actually managed to put in some pretty decent and pretty consistent lap times. So if you have a look on the right, we managed to do consistent mid to low 1 minute 11s with a couple of mistakes thrown in, but so yeah, pretty decent lap times. But if you have a look in the top left, John has pulled into the pit lane for a second time this race with only 22% of a tank left. And if you compare that to ourselves, if you look down in the bottom right, we've still got 55% of a tank. So yeah, John really hasn't done any fuel saving at all, to be honest, as he pulls into the pit lane with less than a quarter of a tank with 10 laps still to go. So that is John pretty much out of this race, as he had to stop for a second time, which has cost him a lot of time. As you can see, we've pulled away from the guys behind, so we've now got a 7-second gap to the pack behind, and we've now got Kelvin 11.5 seconds in front of us, who like us is going to the end of the race on this tank of fuel. The rest of the race, to be honest, was a little bit of a dull affair as well. We were basically in no man's land, just in P2 all by ourselves. We've got Kelvin 9 seconds ahead then as we come through the sweeper on this last lap of the race. We tried getting the fastest lap of the race but couldn't quite get it off of Mike. But well, if you have a look ahead, that's Kelvin. Kelvin has had an off on the final lap coming out of the final corner. He has had an off and he's now in the gravel as we come up to the start finish line to take the checkered flag and take a sensational victory on the final lap of the race at the final corner. So after 50 minutes of flat out racing, Kelvin has crashed on the very last corner of the very last lap of the race. Now in 12 years of racing, I can confirm that that is the most incredible finish finish I have ever witnessed, including the 4 years that I spent marshalling at Butler Park. I never witnessed a race ending like that. Someone crashing out from, quite honestly, so far in the lead and then crashing out so late on into the race. That is by far and away the craziest ending I have ever witnessed. And well, I spoke to Kelvin afterwards, and to be honest, he wasn't actually as like angry as you would expect. You would have thought somebody, you know, in an occasion like that would just be so distraught, losing victory that late on in the race. And it wasn't just losing victory, it was going to be Kelvin's first ever win, and he still, I can confirm now, still hasn't won a race in MRL. So that would have been his maiden and only victory in MRL, and he threw it away on the very last lap of the very last corner. So massive sympathy goes out for Kelvin. He said what happened was he was basically charging down, trying to get the fastest lap of the race. That's what was going on. He was trying to get the fastest lap, and on the very last corner just clipped the gravel and went flying off the circuit. So we're going to have a look at the replay here. So as he comes out of sector 2, then have a look at the split time at the top of the screen. So he's 2/3 of a second down on his personal best, so he's not even on course for the fastest lap of the race. And as he approaches turn 9 here, as he reaches his braking point now, he just brakes a little bit too late, turns in a little bit too late, and off he goes, flying off the circuit, off to Narnia. And then actually watch what happens when he rejoins the circuit. So as he's coming back on the circuit now, Kelvin, in frustration, he gives it a little bit too much power, and that spits him off to the right, back onto the dust, and that is actually what lost him the race probably. Had he managed to, when he rejoined the circuit, had he managed to get going properly, there's a chance I wouldn't have caught him, or it would have been a drag race to the line at least. Yeah, I guess it was the frustration of that first crash when he rejoined the circuit. That is what cost him the race. So that's brutal luck there for Kelvin. So bringing up the race results here, as you can see, we ended up taking the victory by 3.6 seconds over Kelvin, who by the way is one of the kindest, most polite people you will ever meet. So that's cruel, brutal luck there for Kelvin, who brought it home in second in the end. You've got Mike finished third in that Renault with that brutal tyre wear, so he did really well there to come home in third. Only had that one off at the start. Yeah, brought it home in third and got the fastest lap of the world, so very well done there to Mike. You got John in fourth, managed to make that 2-stop kind of work in the end, as he recovered to fourth place, only 7.5 seconds off the win. And then you got Dimmet in fifth and Sean down in sixth. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video and that crazy ending to that race. Next up, we've got the Red Bull Ring in the wet, and when I say wet, I really do mean wet, like proper slippery, no grip whatsoever conditions. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that video. So like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will see you all next time. So goodbye.